Yeah, man, but that's very disappointing, you know. And
Oh, yeah.
I even see people saying, well, you know, that's what entertainers do. That's what they do on stage. Y'all still not getting it. You're still not getting it. You still don't get how morally the community's going to hell. And if you look around at other races, including white people, you look at the Asians, none of that goes on in their culture. And if it does, they separate people with that mentality. And they treat people with that mentality like they are a whole different community and they want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, they shine them.
And that's the reason why the majority of their community is successful. I mean, even whites start to separate themselves from trashy whites. Everybody do it, but the black community, 90% are screwed.
Yeah, we welcome ourselves. And we don't have no shaming measures or anything to oust them out of the community. We don't even have communities. We just got a bunch of Negroes who live together.
I mean, it's just like I was telling my landlord's secretary, Marva. I said, I don't want to live nowhere around no niggas. I don't want to live next door to them. I don't want to live across the hall from them. I don't want none of that. I said, so if this unit is in an area where there's mostly whites and Asians, fine. I said, but I don't want to live around black folks. Because you never know. You know, when we had that house over, I told you before, when them niggas was living across the street. Angel just wanted to jump right into it. I said, you have to take your time and observe people. I said, these niggas are sitting across the street with their garage door open, playing loud rap music, and smoking weed. I said, those are not black people across the street. Those are niggas.
Right.
I said, you don't associate yourself with niggas. They smell like they smoking some real good weed over there. I said, okay. I said, but if I catch one of them niggas up in his house, I said, I'm giving him lead. Man, Brother David, we are peaceful, man. I said, yeah. We sure are. I said, let me catch one of them niggas up in his house. I said, I'm going to get my piece.
Yeah, you peaceful, all right.
I said, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. I said, I'll kill for my piece. And I will watch them carry their body out and away. And I will lay down and I will go to sleep. Now, you can call me whatever you want. I said, but I've lived long enough not to have a whole lot of compassion for any human life that don't value their own life.
Right.
You come in my house, you dead. Simple as that. I told him I'm not one of them people that's going to ask that stupid question, what are you doing in my home? You already know what he's doing in your home. Did you invite him in? No. Okay, then kill him. What you doing in my house? Obviously, he's here to steal from you and to hurt you just in case you wake up.
Right.
So what are you going to do? I'm going to call the police. Well, you go ahead and call the police. David is getting his gun.
Yeah.
And if you get in my way, I'm going to shoot you. Simple as that. I might not kill you, but I'm going to hurt you in a way to where you know you can't stand in my way.
Right.
I will blow your kneecap right off your leg. And while you down there screaming, I'm downstairs shooting this nigga in his head because I am not playing. That's where I come from. I have a killer streak in me, and I don't care, dude. You cross me, you die. I'm not outside the house. I'm not messing with you. So you mean to tell me you gonna come up to my home where I'm trying to get my peace? You dead, bro. Once you get to the point to where you breaking into somebody's home, you deserve to die. You asking for it, pretty much.
I agree. So yeah, man. If Mo High was like the credits like David, what do you want? Or Josh, I would like get rid of the mass majority of these Negroes, man. We just the black race has failed.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that me thinking that 90-something% of our people needing to die is hot, but I'm like, man, at this point it's not. We have reached critical mass as a people as far as just how filthy we are.
And then when you live as long as I've lived, and you always pay very close attention to things, you see a whole lot of things. Imagine living for almost 60 years and you were back in the 70s, in 1974, you were able to detect when the moral condition of the world started to shift. Way back then in 1974.
Yeah, see, I was born. See, I didn't get a chance to grow up in a world like yours or whatever. Where you got to see what it was like before. I was born in '89, so me coming was the world was already more corrupted, much more corrupted. But anyway, tell me like 74 from now what you noticed. Even though you told me before, but since we on this topic, I know you probably come with a different perspective a bit.
Oh, you know your brother well, huh? You already know I'm getting ready to tell you.
Yeah.
Coming up in Chicago. See, the reason why I'm very much aware of when the mind sparks your first level of consciousness as far as your intelligence is concerned, is when you suddenly start accumulating information. That's actually when you wake up. And that's actually when the child's face begins to form impressions. And that's by way of perception and understanding things. And even if you don't understand things, that's your curiosity wondering, what is this, what is that? Because that first spark, the first spark of intelligence is curiosity.
Yep.
You're curious. What is that? What is?
I've also heard it said that a lot of times doubt is the beginning of all reason, meaning that once you start doubting is when you start questioning. Once you start questioning is when you start figuring out things.
And so when you have a mind like that, people underestimate. So you start see, because even before I was 3, I think I told you this before too. My mother and my dad was in the hallway arguing, going back and forth arguing, and I was in my baby bed. I was still in the cradle, and all I was able to do is stand up and put my hands on the side of the cradle And my mother and my dad was in their hallway. This house we had on 65th Street in Chicago. My mother was in her white nightgown, and my dad was in some blue jeans, and he had on a black jacket, and he had a cap on. It looked like he was working at a gas station because he used to work at a gas station. And so what he used to do, whenever he used to get off work, he used to like coming home, pick an argument so they can get into a fight so he can have an excuse to run the street. So this particular night, my mother had found out that he had another woman across town. It just so happens to be Terrell's mother. Now, I didn't know this was Terrell's mother until I told my mother about this experience that I remember. But I told my mother, I said, you guys were in the middle of the hallway. You was arguing about something. I said, I don't know. I can't say exactly what it was about. I said, but I knew that it was serious because you guys were arguing real loud and, you know, y'all got kind of physical. I said, and I stood up on my cradle. And while y'all was arguing, I was humming like this, and I was rocking from side to side. And at that moment, I was aware that I was not able to talk. I was aware of that. I was aware that I did not have language in me.
Right.
However, what I saw, I knew was wrong. So even at that age, whether it was 1 or 1.5, I had a mind that knew what was right and knew what was wrong. And so they going back and forth, okay? So it all ends up, my mother and my dad started messing around on each other while my mother used to leave me down at our babysitter. This real nice woman reminded me of Billie Holiday. Her name was Miss Hall. Numerous times my dad would...
David, you had cut out for like 10 seconds.
What's that?
You had cut out. After you said Billie Holiday, you had cut out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And so what had happened was, she used to leave us down at Miss Hall's house. Now, Miss Hall was our babysitter. So, numerous times, my dad would come down. He would go home, and we wouldn't be there. We would be down at Miss Hall's house because my mother was out seeing this black and Italian guy who she knew and went to school with. His name was Larry. And so I remember the night that Miss Hall had got sick and tired of their madness. Now, I had a whole lot of toys down at Miss Hall's house. And so that particular night, I guess she got frustrated when my dad came down there to get us. And so he had picked me up. He was carrying me on his hip. Even then, I could tell that he was irritated. It was something about me that irritated him. And I remember when Miss Hall picked up those toys that were mine, and he had me on one hip, and she gave him all of those toys in a brown paper bag on his other arm. So what happened was, he took me and my sister down to the house, and I don't recall exactly what happened after that, but we ended up at my great grandmother's house because Graham had told her, bring DA and Becky down here. She said, until you and Van decide what y'all want to do. So that's how we got down there to my great grandmother's home. So we eventually ended up staying down there for the rest of our lives. I saw my mother date all these different celebrities, Smokey Robinson, Flip Wilson, all of these guys. My dad got into preaching, and I told you how, you know, everything he did to go into the church and all that, so I don't even have to go through that. But what I noticed mostly, as far as the moral shift, I noticed that more so through my mother, when she used to go to the nightclubs and sing in these lounges and stuff. And then when the disco era came in 1974, then I saw the drugs, I saw the drinking, I saw the promiscuous living, I saw little kids running the streets at night when they should be at home in bed. I saw all of this, you know, and like I said before, that's what gave birth to the hip hop generation. When Ice Cube and all of them was talking about, we're only rapping about what's going on in the hood. Now, police brutality has always been going on. It's always been going on.
Right.
But what really helped send the world into the gutter was the parents of the 70s who had their children in the mid-60s. Those were the parents who totally destroyed the black race, totally destroyed them. It is them. And it is because of them that we are dealing with what we're dealing with now. Now, if you look at people like Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, those are not 70s parents. Their parents were the 70 parents. Jill Scott are the parents of the 80s. They had their children in the early and mid 80s based upon the effects of the hip hop generation and all of that. And so you go into the 90s where you have an even more corrupted generation of young people who don't care anything about killing, who don't care anything about education. And this is what the movie Menace to Society showed you. See, Boys in the Hood showed you the effects from the 70s parents and gave birth to the 80s children. That was Boys in the Hood. But Menace to Society, those were the 90s babies. You know, those were the you might as well say late 80s or late 80s and 90s babies.
Right.
And so when you look at back in the 70s when everybody was drinking, using drugs, getting strung out on drugs, and then when they lay up and they had these babies coming in for the 80s, you have a lot of kids with learning disabilities, deformations because of the drug use, you know, and so the crack epidemic comes. And so when you have those type of things transpiring through the blood of black people, the level of intelligence within the people begins to diminish. And then you got these and then you got these little black bitches who think they know it all, who can't keep their legs closed, who got these salt and peppers and these little Kims and all of these. Man, this black race is gone. Black race is dead.
Yep.
And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. But that's pretty much what happened. All of the mess that you see right now started way back in 1974. That's when it started. The disco era came in, when the drugs came in, and I seen it. I seen the shift.
Yeah, matter of fact, speaking of disco, I watched Saturday Night Fever for the first time. I think it was the first time I watched it like a week and a half ago. I really enjoyed it. But I kind of see why you wanted me to add it too. You know, to see the degradation. Is that why you wanted me to add it like a long time ago?
Yeah, I mean it's a very vast a movie for education.
Yeah, and the soundtrack, man, I was like, man, that soundtrack, I was like, man, I didn't heard this so many songs and movies my whole life. I was like, no wonder why it's such a popular movie. Every song I didn't heard a billion times. I didn't know I was hearing it.
Yep, I think John Travolta did excellent in that movie.
Yeah, that movie was a classic. Matter of fact, when it came out, I think it did like $200 million. I think it only cost like $6 million to make.
Yeah, because it came out right at the heart of the disco era. And so somebody had to grasp it in its fullness in order to capitalize on it. And Saturday Night Fever did that, and it's in the title because one of the main nights for disco dancing was Saturday.
Right.
Because it was the weekend, and everybody wanted it, and so it was like a fever. You know, it was something. I'll put it like this: fever, in the reverse sense, it's something that everybody strongly desired. With heat, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
So that's what they saying that they call it Saturday Night Fever, when a whole lot of crazy stuff was going on. People were screwing in bathrooms. Yeah, in the backseat of cars, they were doing drugs and all of that. That's what helped mess up this generation.
I put something strong up on Pam Grier's birthday about the black exploitation.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that, man, about how, you know, I don't know if it was you or somebody like a week or so ago. I was talking to somebody, might probably was you. We were talking about how before the whole black exploitation era, black folks wasn't acting like that, but then once white man put out how he think of us, we started trying to live up to them stereotypes. I think it probably was you. That me, you know, I never thought about it like that, but that's true.
I sure broke it down on here. So that folks know, you know, this is the way they want us to see ourselves, and it's these type of people that they told you these are your heroes. Don't tell me who the hell my heroes are.
Right.
And then you got these black men who don't know how to outthink and outwit the system, and so they put a gun in their hand. If they ain't criminals and they pimps, which are criminals, you know, then you got pimps and hustlers and all of these dudes, and everybody's walking around with a gun in their hand, and they got all these black women hanging all over them for security and protection. And that doesn't do nothing but entice a whole lot of frustrated black men who've been made to feel insecure because of the political system and the economic system to go into that lifestyle. And can't nobody tell me anything different because I grew up seeing this myself. You know, so it's like, ain't nobody tell me, oh, Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. Fool, I saw this happen. I saw this happen with my own eyes. I've talked to pimps. I think I told you this pimp that we all knew out there named Red. He schooled me with pimpology. He sat me down and talked to me for 4 hours and told me what pimp life was really all about.
Oh man, shoot, not to change the conversation, but what did he tell you?
Oh man, he told me a whole lot of stuff. You know, but one of the main things he was letting me know, he said, you know, pimping is not how it's portrayed in these movies. He said, you know, you see these clowns walking around with all these big old coats on and all these colorful, you know, these colors. He said that's not what pimping is. He said, you know, those guys look stupid. He said the only thing that's going to happen, you're going to see these type of niggas out here in the street dressing just like they want them to dress in order to expose them and what they really doing. Because he Red was real neat. You know, he looked like a businessman. He was black and Irish, and he looked like a businessman. And he knew my mother and my uncle, and Red used to talk to me all the time, you know, because me and my friend used to wash his car because he had a red Eldorado too, and we used to wash his car, and he used to give us all $5 each, you know. And one night he came over, and everybody, all the rest of my friends was in the house, and I was just sitting on our porch, and he just came out and asked me. He said, "What you doing out here?" I'm just sitting there. So he came up and started talking to me, and then you know, the conversation went into his lifestyle, you know, because I asked him, I said, "Well, what do you do to make your money?" And he just opened up to me and told me what he was doing and stuff like that. And he saw the look on my face, and, you know, he said, "I bet you've seen the movies like Superfly and The Back and stuff like that." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You think I'm like those guys?" And I told him, "Yeah." He said, "No, I'm not like them guys." "Did you see the way I dress?" He said, "I'm wearing big old hats and stuff like that." You know, but he was breaking it down to me, and he was telling me the women that he worked for, he said they got their own places. He said they got their own bank account. He said, "I don't force nobody to do anything." You know, and he was explaining to me that most of the women who offer themselves to strangers, he said most of those girls have been abused and violated by people like their daddies, their uncles, even their school teachers and priests and pastors and stuff like that. And he said that's another reason why they don't mind laying down with strangers, because they've been violated anyway, so it don't make them any difference. He said it's people like me that takes care of them. He said because these women have been hurt, they've been scarred, and they can't keep jobs because there's no counselor to them. He said a guy like me comes along, and I tell him that I understand. He said because I've been scarred myself. He said, you know, he was just breaking it down to me, you know, but he was just saying that we take care of each other. He said it's an agreement. He said all of this stuff that you see in the movies and on the streets, you know, these guys trying to duplicate what they see in the movies about the pimps beating up their women, making their women go out there. He said, "Man, can't no man make no woman do nothing she don't want to do." He said if they want to quit, they can quit. You know? And, you know, he talked to me for 4 hours, and it kind of made my mother nervous, you know? And he said, you know, I know you understand what I'm talking to you. I'm telling you. He said, I can look into your eyes and tell you understand. You understand what I'm telling you, right? And I said, yeah, I understand. And so he kept right on talking. He made sure I understood everything. You know, he started giving them protection and stuff like that. And he said these women are hurt. He said some of them ain't never going to be fixed. He said some of them are going to end up dead in the rooms, or a drug overdose, or somebody's going to kill them. He said they're going to kill themselves. He said less than a handful of women live and get out of prostitution. He said, but I'm not one to try to force women into it. He said, but what's going to happen is a lot of these brothers out here are going to try to duplicate Superfly. He said, but they forget that Superfly was trying to get out of the business. He wasn't trying to stay in it, and Superfly wasn't a pimp. He was a drug seller. He said, but those guys are dressed up, and they're looking like clowns. He said, then you're going to see these men out here trying to duplicate their dress, and the only thing they're going to do is stand out, and the police going to roll right up on them and throw them in jail. That's exactly what was happening. He said, when you a pimp, nobody knows you a pimp. You know, it's just like what they said about the gangsters. You know, if you're a gangster, nobody knows you one. You don't walk around telling people you're a gangster.
Yup. Like they say, real G's move silently.
You know, but see, Red stood out a little bit because he used to always wear red suits. His Eldorado was red. He was a beautiful, nice-looking man, you know, and he very tall. I think, you know, it's a trip because whenever I tell people about Red, they know, you lying, you talking about Malcolm when he was a pimp. Look, I knew Red before I even knew who Malcolm X was. It just so happened to where, you know, they had a lot of the same features. But Red wasn't as tall as Malcolm. I think because Malcolm was about 6'5.5". Red was only like 6'3.5". But Red was a nice man. He was a very nice man. And he was never known to be beaten up on women and stuff like that. A lot of cops knew him. A lot of cops knew what he was doing. And he would have to shake down some cops in order to make a living. Whenever cops, wanted some extra money, that's just the way it goes. But he was just pretty much telling me, he said, there's a cooperation. He said, there's a cooperative effort between me and the women. He said, I'm not gonna force nobody to do anything. He said, you can't really let money start force somebody to do something. You don't make money like that. There has to be a cooperative effort on her behalf, and I had to keep that cooperative effort on my behalf by not abusing her. He said the whole thing is to make these women feel loved. He said they're just really looking for somebody who's going to love them and take care of them and protect them. So that's why, whenever I used to be out speaking, and even right now, whenever I talk to young men, they talk about that pimp game, and I do this, I'll beat a bitch up. That don't have nothing to do with pimp. Nothing whatsoever. And those women who are out there get beat up by these so-called pimps, please. You don't have no pimp. You just got some fools on the side of your head. Because a real pimp don't have to go upside a woman's head like that.
No.
But it's like, he did say, now I will say this. He said, you pimps, he said, we're con artists. He said, how many women can you walk up on the street and convince them to go out and sell their bodies and bring you back the money? He said, you give them a cut and they go on about their business. He said, you can't go up to any woman like that and convince her. He said, she's got to be in some pain or something like that. He said, so in a sense, we're con men. He said, because all at the same time, we're vultures. He said, we go to the airport. He said, we go to the Greyhound bus stations, and he said, we look for strays who are in pain, like he said. And the only thing we do is offer them security. At least that's the way he used to do it. But Red had got himself killed.
I was just about to ask you, what happened to him?
Yeah, they had found him in his Red Eldorado in an alley on 75th and Blackstone. And he was just laying in his car. He had 7 slugs to his chest. And they said it wasn't no tussle or anything like that. There wasn't no fight. He was just, they thought it was sleep. And they looked in there and they, touched him and he just fell over. And they, when they came and got him, they put him on the stretcher. They opened up his shirt. He had seven bullet holes in his chest. And my mother wouldn't let me go to his funeral because I loved Red. And the only reason why she didn't let me go is because Red had a whole lot of enemies. He had so many enemies, they didn't know who killed him. They didn't know if it was cops or gangster disciples or some hustlers or some other pimps. But he was the one who told me the difference between a hustler and a pimp, because I thought they were the same. He said, no, hustlers are just somebody that go out and try to sell things. He said he steals, he buys things, stolen goods and stuff like that. He goes to warehouses and, he gets, has watches and radios and all that kind of stuff. He makes, he sells it and makes money. He loans people money. They said, he was telling me, a hustler, he buys and sells and loans. And I'm like, well, that's like a department store. So he said, exactly. He said, but these dudes, do it outside the system, because of the system they are no longer welcome in because they commit crimes. I've had some good schooling, man.
Man, David, you definitely can make a documentary about your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna write a real long story. You know, I think it's Struggle to the Divine, something like that. I really don't know what it's gonna be titled, but I would rather it be titled a one-word type book. And it's going to be based on my life, but it's going to be in a storybook form. And you're going to notice that the character in the story is within me. I'm writing about myself. And of course, there's going to be some things in the story that are it's just entertainment, because it's going to be a story. But everything that I've learned is going to be put into a book form, a storybook form. You know, and the only way that a lot of people are going to try to determine what's true and what's been added, you would have to see my journal, and it's not a lot of people that's going to be allowed to see my journal. Yeah, but you know, the reason why my life would have to be put in a story format is because it's so vast with information. I wouldn't know where to start. If I'm not able to write about myself. You know, it's like I was even telling Tandy one time, because Tandy told me, she said, you learned a lot in life. She said, you need to write all of this stuff down. And I told her, I said, I can't. I said, I can write about everybody else and everything else except myself. And she said, that's weird. I'm like, it's really not weird. I said, because the weight is very heavy. I said, I've learned a lot. I said, I've learned a lot. And not only because of what people have told me and things that I've read, it's things that I've observed. You know, I'm like a sponge. You know, it's like my mother was saying, you sponge brain. She said, you always absorbing things. Everywhere you go, you absorb everything. You know, and for a minute, my mother was worried about me. She said, because you might get an overload one day and lose, you know, you might lose your mind. But I think the only thing that's preventing that is wisdom. You know, it's this one thing I've always thanked the Creator for is wisdom.
Right.
Because you just can't have a large amount of knowledge alone. You will lose your mind. You know, you have to have wisdom there. You know, and wisdom balances everything out. Emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, spiritually. It's wisdom that does all of that. You know, people want to put wisdom in the same category and scale of knowledge when it's really not.
Knowledge is just information.
Yeah, and information is a containment. It's a measure. It's a degree. You know, wisdom is something that's free. It's sacred, and it's always empty. It doesn't have a containment of knowledge. It's pure. You know, it goes into things, and whatever goes into it analyzes and breaks it down. You know, and tells you its function and stuff like that. That's what wisdom is. That's what the universe was created with wisdom. You know, it even says that it says that in the Quran and the Bible that the universe was created with wisdom. And when you look at everything, I mean, even the slightest leaf, if you pick it up, you wouldn't be able to come up with that. That's a profound wisdom. You know, and it's like the simplest things, like a leaf or a rock. You pick that up, can you create that? You know, in detail and shape and form and all of that, the human mind can't do that. And, you know, that's why I tell people, I know that that's a fact. That's not something I have to believe, because I've observed things. I've picked up rocks. I've looked at rocks. A man can't create wind. A man can't even tell you why wind was created. You know what I'm saying? That's wisdom.
Right.
No matter how much knowledge man accumulates and tries to give you a reason why the earth was created, he's never going to know. So it's best, it's best for some things to be just left on the Creator alone to tell you. But I was telling Patty, I said, I would have to do it the same way Malcolm did it. I would have to just sit and talk. I said, and then it will probably go on for like 3 days before I even get to the beginning. That's because my life has been so vast, but all at the same time it's been complicated because I've dealt with a large amount of pain in my life. And so I don't think, I know for a fact that I won't live in faith. But I can take a lot of what I've learned in life and I can put it into what I love doing, and that's writing stories.
Right.
But I did tell her, considering, not trying to compare, but I'm just looking at the results of people like myself. I said, it will be a miracle, though, if I die of natural causes and not be killed. It'll be a miracle. A miracle. And I don't even believe in miracles. But I have to use that word because, considering the way that I'm made, because I'm just not going to be quiet. Period. They're going to have to shoot me. But especially living in a system like this. So I just told her, I said, if I die of natural causes, if I live to be an old man, I'll be surprised. There were some people on the strip today, right? Walking around this big sign that said, "Fear God." Ain't that something?
Yeah, but I'm not surprised.
And I'm like, "Fear God?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm supposed to love God, right?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I can't love what I fear." They said, "It's a fear of respect." I said, "If fear is anywhere, I can't love a person honestly." I said, if I bow down because I fear them, then fear is my God. I said, "You trying to give me another God to fear? You trying to give me another God called fear?" I was just messing with him. I said, it's like, one part of your book that says you were not created with fear, and then next thing you know, you turn around and tell me I'm supposed to fear God. It's the person that created me, who earlier said I wasn't created with fear. I mean, make up your mind.
I'm sitting here looking at New Jack City.
Oh, classic.
We are the only people that will sing and celebrate our own corruption.
Yeah.
Living just enough for the city, for the New Jack City. And you know what you're thinking about. You're thinking about drugs, corruption, folks overdosing, people getting killed. You thinking about, yeah, but that's us. Yeah, we destructive, baby. Yeah, we self-destructive. Yeah, we some sick niggas. Let's sing about it. Let's sing about it.
That's right for you.
That's cool. But don't you call us no niggas, though. You let us call ourselves niggas. That's how twisted we are, man. And they wasn't very wise when they started making these type of movies, because basically this was nothing but a blueprint and telling drug dealers how they supposed to be living. That's like in the movie Superfly. When they did that, you might as well say it was almost like a commercial or a music video of Pusher Man. You remember that part?
Mm-hmm.
Superfly?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Your mama, I'm your daddy. And they had all them pictures of black people. I'm your nigga in the alley. I'm your doctor. When in need, have some smoke, have some weed. You know me, you know him. I'm your boy thinking thin. I'm your pusher man.
Yeah, you right, man. You telling too much truth. That's true, and that was by Curtis Mayfield. He did that whole album.
Yeah, and they put the music to it, and he's singing in the high pitch, which gives off a real intense, I would say, feeling. See, because when you're hitting the high notes, you're tensing up, and so that makes you think like it's cool. It's so cool. I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, I'm the nigga in the alley. I'm your doctor. When in need, have some smoke, have some weed. You know me, you know him. I'm your boy thinking thing. I'm your pusher man. And people, I'm your pusher. Yeah. Excuse me. Are you paying attention to the lyrics, fool? Oh wow. 2 bags, please. Shaking a hand. Thank you, sir. Yeah, okay. Y'all businessmen. Y'all some drug addicts. That's what you are.
Yep, some job dope dealers.
Nice doing business with you. You mean nice doing death with you.